Hi, I'm Mark. I'm 50 years old. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Um, I started working with ayahuasca in January this year, and it was, I guess I'd read a lot about it, about in the previous 6 months before I did my first retreat. It was in another place than here. And it really fascinated me, and it was very interesting first experience. And I got, besides the medicine itself, I was very fascinated by the work of the shamans in ceremony, and what was going on and how that whole process worked, and it really sort of captured my imagination. And then so I had that experience in January, and then I was here in Iquitos at another center again in June of this year, and I got deeper into working with the medicine, and I just kept wanting to go each time deeper and deeper. And while I was here, I met a friend downtown for lunch who was just about to start the 10-week course that happened just before this one. And she had nothing but good things to say about the Ayahuasca Foundation. And when I got home, I looked into it, and I checked out the website and watched a lot of testimonials like this one, and decided that this was, the next step in my journey. And maybe with a little trepidation, it sounded like 19 ceremonies in 40 days was a lot, but it seemed like the next logical thing for me to do. The course was very interesting. We got here. We all walked in from the road and came to the camp, and it's very secluded. There's no electricity. We have like 3 hours of electricity every day. It's just enough to charge your phone or whatever, which doesn't work anyway. But and the first the first week of the course was really a little daunting. It seemed like it was going to be a long 6 weeks, but it was, this is what I came here for, to immerse myself deeply into working with ayahuasca and learning more about shamanism and how the whole process works. And that was what we were doing. The other thing that really impressed me, and Carlos, who's the director of the Ayahuasca Foundation, before I came here, I watched a lot of interviews that he had done, and one thing that really impressed me was his explanation of that there are like 7 pillars of Amazonian plant medicine, and ayahuasca is only just a part of it. It's sort of like the diagnostic, or like the equivalent of in Western medicine of like getting a CAT scan or an X-ray and seeing what the problem is and what needs to be worked on. And there's so many other things. There's dieting plants, which is different than the so-called ayahuasca diet that you eat when you're working with the medicine. But this is like working with the plant spirits and the individual plants, and that was very interesting. There are vapor baths that we took, where you're basically sitting in sort of an enclosure and inhaling vapor from different medicinal plants, and that's really invigorating, and it does wonders for all kinds of things. There's cold flower baths also that we take. There's such a depth to the working with the plant medicine beyond the ayahuasca itself, and those things actually add so much to the ayahuasca experience that just going to a center and drinking ayahuasca can be great, and you can get a lot out of it and have some wonderful experiences, but the depth of it is not anywhere close to what we had here. Doing this as a whole sort of system of medicine. So yeah, that part, that was great. And we learned a lot about, the other thing that I was really excited about doing here was because I've always wanted to work with my voice and learn how to sing, or just give myself permission to sing, basically. And that certainly was a big part of our process here and our learning. We learned the traditional Icaros in the Shipibo language that have been passed on through generations of shamans, and Don Enrique, who was our shaman here, through his family. And so we were constantly, every day we were learning Icaros, and during ceremony we were practicing them and singing them, and and you can also sing any other songs that but you really learn to use your voice and let that really come out. And so I got to do that, and surprisingly I have a good voice. So I was really enjoyed that part of the course, and lots of practical instruction about working with plants and the different medicines and what they do and how to prepare them. And it was just really interesting. Don Enrique, who is our curandero, our shaman, was maestro, was absolutely wonderful, really powerful personality, and obviously very capable at what he does, and as I understand, he's been doing this for many years now. His brother Don Miguel, also a very powerful person and shaman, and both of them, to hear them sing in ceremony is just amazing. I mean, they just they'll start singing their Icaros at the beginning of ceremony, and it just the whole Maloka is just totally energized, and everyone can really feel their power. It's amazing, and there are usually two facilitators here. We had a little treat. We ended up with 3 of them during our retreat. So it was Dean and Kieran, who is also called KO because we had another Kieran here, so we had to tell them apart, and Sophia, and their job is to assist Don Enrique and Don Miguel in keeping things organized and working smoothly, and if anyone has difficulty during ceremony, they're there to help out. And they were all very professional and obviously really knew what they were doing. And they're also basically they're sort of like apprentices to Don Miguel and Don Enrique, and they're also singing lots of Icaros and helping us as well with our journey. The accommodations were great. If you're looking for a luxurious retreat, this is not it. It's very rustic. It's an isolated jungle camp. As I mentioned, there's no electricity. We have a generator for a few hours a day, basically around dinner time. The rooms are comfortable. We have mosquito netting for our bed, so it helps when you're trying to get some sleep at night. But the beds are comfortable, the showers, toilets, everything is very functional. I was not uncomfortable at all at any time during my stay here. I'd say after the first week, I didn't really even notice that it was such a rustic environment, just because there's so much going on, and we're doing ceremonies every other day, and so the day after ceremony, usually we're recovering most of the day, and it's functional, which is really all you need. And one thing I really enjoyed about my stay here was being totally off the grid for 6 weeks, and there's no internet, there's no telephone, there's no way to contact the outside world. There's a satellite phone, so if there's an emergency or really had to get in touch with the outside world, you could, but I had absolutely no desire to do so. and I just really enjoyed being in nature and all the nature sounds, and there's chickens everywhere on the property and ducks and dogs and just roosters crowing every morning at 4 a.m. and the neighboring roosters from 10 kilometers away answering them, and they kind of sound like elephants because of the echo. But it's great. I had a fabulous time here, and I feel like this is like, to me, that it really feels like home to me. Like it's like a place that I can draw strength from, when I'm back out in the real world or the other world. So it's fabulous. I just just being in nature and just surrounded by the jungle, but it's not like the jungle like you think, the jungle, the wild jungle. It's very benign and loving and supporting, and it's like there's like a protective bubble around the camp here, and it feels really wonderful. If you're thinking about coming, it's very challenging. This is probably the most trying and difficult thing that I've ever done in my life. It was really a challenge. I had a pretty good idea that that's what this was going to be when I signed up for it. And my whole purpose in coming was to immerse myself in working with ayahuasca and getting really deep into it, which I have never managed to accomplish in my previous 2 experiences, but which were very good, but they weren't immersive by any means. So, if you really are interested in deeply working with ayahuasca and really immersing yourself in the experience, that I highly recommend this. Don Enrique is like a peerless, maestro. His family has been doing this for like 1,000 years. I mean, it's like an unbroken, chain that's been handed down. So it's as authentic as you're going to get. The Shipibo tradition is solid. It works. It's the Icaros, the medicine, the whole formula is. It's solid. So it's not like you're bringing yourself into a situation that's it's as good as you're going to get for an authentic experience with the indigenous tradition. Yeah, I had a wonderful time. It's something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. We had an amazing group of people here who we're going to probably stay in touch forever, I'm guessing. Everyone just really flowed together perfectly in harmony and loving, energy, and yeah, it was wonderful. And I also wanted to thank, big thanks to Carlos Tanner, who's the director of the Ayahuasca Foundation, who's put all this together. And there's no program like this anywhere that I'm aware of, and I'm so grateful that I found out about it and came here and did the course.